Hello everybody. Welcome, gentlemen at the table, dzentelmeniprzystole. Today we are going to talk about bad trap Soviet-Afghan war 1979 till 89. I'm going to introduce some rules of this game. This game has not yet been published. It's going to be published by GMT Games. It's available on GMT side as this P500, so you can order it. So the first question is, why am I going to talk about this game? And here is some small spoiler alert. I think this game is very unique. It's a very good game. The gameplay is very tight, very interesting. That's the first and most important thing. The second thing is that maybe I would not call this game an easy game, but or trivial game, but I would consider it a very accessible game, especially when it comes to rules, as you will see it. So that's those two things. And what is more, if you enter BGG page and go to forums, there is this call for more playtesters forum thread where you can sign up for playtesting. I strongly encourage you to do it. Both designer Mr. Daniels as well as main playtester are both very open, very accessible, very responsive, very helpful. So I strongly recommend to assign for play testing. Once you will do it, you will have an access to a Discord channel, to rules, as well as player aid, tabletop simulator module, vassal module, and also print and play materials which you can print and play. Okay, so why not check this game before possible purchase? Okay, so today I'm going to show you the rules of this game using tabletop simulator module. Disclaimer: all those materials are still just playtest materials, so probably the map will change. Actually, this game is, in my opinion, it is it's already in very advanced stage of playtests. In my opinion, this game right now works great. So I would not consider too many changes. As far as I know, they are working right now on this some kind of solo mode, but I would not talk about it in here. I'm just going to focus on head-to-head game between two players, a Soviet Union versus so-called insurgents. Okay, so please just remember that all those things, both those blocks, stickers on those blocks, the whole map, as well as cards, those are all just playtest materials, so they are a little bit raw, but still very, in my opinion, very helpful when it comes to usability. It's a top notch. So there are many things, not only the soul game, but many other things that I love about this game. Okay, so let's start with components of the game and how we are going to play this game. Okay, so let's start with the components. Let's take a look at what do we have in here. So first, let's take a look on the map. As you can see, it's an area-based map. There are many so-called areas. Each of those hex spaces is called an area. What is more, we also have areas, like two areas, separate areas in Pakistan, as well as a single large area in Iran. And also this USSR consists of 1, 2, 3, for 5 separate areas. There is also this China area, but as far as I know, it is not available for both sides of this conflict. It's here just for some thematic reason. Okay, if you take a look at this legend, it's really helpful because it, for example, shows that those spaces with this gray X sign in here, those spaces, actually this single large space, Turkestan Military HQ, is not as accessible by insurgent side, as well as all those Pakistan and also Iran spaces are not accessible by Soviet units, those blocks. Okay. What do we have in here? Okay, so each space is connected with one of 3 types of terrain. It will be either a highway connection, so basically highway is this gray road depicted on the map, or if there is nothing between 2 areas, this connection is considered just a regular connection. And the third last type of connection is this mountains or rough terrain connection between two areas. On the map we can see 3 cities. Those 3 cities: Herat, Kandahar and Kabul. Kabul is a special city which has some airlift connection with Turkestan military headquarters. Those 2 spaces, Kabul and Turkestan, are considered to be adjacent for some special move only available to the Soviet player. What do we have? We have those Pakistan, Iran. Oh, okay, and we have also 10 towns, those smaller spaces, which will by default, every city, when it does not contain any units, any blocks, is considered to be controlled by Soviet side. On the other hand, each of those towns, when they are empty, when they do not contain any blocks, they consider to be controlled by insurgent, this green player. Okay, and also some spaces like Panjshir Valley, this Hazara region, are some spaces with some names because of the fact that some strategy cards are associated with those spaces on the map. Okay, and I guess that's it when it comes to our map right now. So let's move on to and let's take a look at our other components. So let's start with the Soviet side. As you can see, both sides will have an access to some units which will be put on the map, those blocks which will show units. So other than some special units, Soviet player will have an access to 3 types of units. Let's take a look at them. Okay, let's take a look at them. So we'll have an access to infantry, Soviet armor, and also those DRA forces, Democratic Republic of Afghanistan forces. Those 3 types of units. What is more, also Soviet player will have an access to a single rumor block, which should be always considered a Soviet infantry in most cases, other than battle, when it will just be removed before the battle. And also this deck of those regular cards is going to contain sorry, right now we do not care about this card. Okay, so let's get back. Okay, in our regular deck will consist of those of cards of those 3 types or suits of cards related to those types of of units. So we have this Soviet infantry, Soviet armor, as well as DRA forces. What is also nice, because please remember that all those components are still just some playtest components. They will look almost for sure they will look much better in the final product. Here you have all those informations when it comes to impact provided by specific unit, how many hit points, let's call them, those units might receive. Also information about how many blocks are available in total, as well as how many cards are available in our whole deck about all those units. And what is more, also some additional informations, some modifiers, for example, movement modifiers available for specific units. So it's very well designed when it comes to usability. Even though it might maybe not look great right now. Okay, graphically. Okay, and what is more, in our deck there will be a single card, which also is here is described how this card works, so you don't have to look into your rule book during your first games. We'll get back to it a little bit later. Okay, and also there is just a single special block, Spetsnaz, which might enter, does not have to, but might enter during the game, based on which strategy cards Soviet player will use during our game. But we'll get back to it a little bit later. Right now we do not care about those devastation markers, and let's move on to what we have, what insurgent player, what kind of units are available to the insurgent player. Okay, so first of all, there will be Mujahideen units, either either Shia mix or Shia Mujahideens, those units in here, or Sunni units, those white crescent moons or green. Those two types of Mujahideen units, those Lashkar units. So maybe let's move them. Let's put them on the map. Rumo, 3 Rumo blocks, captured artillery, and a single warlord stronghold. Okay, this is a special type of block. We'll get back to it a little bit later. Those regular units available from the very beginning are three copies of Rumo block. Those two types of Mujahideen units, and those Lashkar units. Later in the game, maybe insurgent player will get an access to those captured artillery units, as well as to more Mujahideen, either Shia or Sunni Mujahideen units. And same thing when it comes to deck. Here, okay, we do not care about this defecators card right now. We'll get back to it a little bit later. Oh man. Maybe let's search specific card. Boom. Boom. And this one. Okay. Here we are. So once again, each of those 3 types of units will have a corresponding type of card. Those cards relate to those units. And once again, as you can see, you have those detailed information when it comes to impact generated by specific unit, how many hit points it can absorb, how many blocks are available in total, how many cards are available in the deck, and also some either movement or attack or ambush modifiers. Okay, and the last thing that we are going to talk about, or maybe let's quickly talk about those both card for the Soviet player as well as defecators cards for the insurgent player. So basically, Soviet player is going to have just a single card player. Insurgents will have 3 copies of those defecators. Those cards are going to be used during combat in order to perform so-called loyalty challenge and try to get some units, some enemy units to our side, but we'll get back to loyalty challenges later. And the last thing that we are going to talk about are those strategy cards. So basically there are 8 pairs, 16 strategy cards in total for Soviets, as well as 16 strategy cards for insurgent player. 2 copies of each of those strategy cards. In the beginning, in the setup, as well as during our game, both players are going to put more strategy cards to shuffle them into their deck, and those strategy cards usually they are very powerful cards that will either change some rules of the game or perform some, let's call it one-shot powerful effects apply on the state of our game, and they are very different for both sides. Okay, so I guess that's it when it comes to components. Maybe one more thing. Here is also this this helper board for tracking both impact and so-called victory points, called either Soviet fatigue or Soviet control during our game, but we'll get back to it later when I will describe victory conditions for both sides. So let's stop in here. Okay, so let's talk about both victory conditions as well as so-called Geneva talks. Basically, maybe let's first take a look at this helper board. On this track, from 0 to 9, with those values from 0 to 9, we are going to track both Soviet fatigue using this green marker, as well as Soviet control. On this track we are going to track how many reshuffles both players, Soviet player as well as insurgent player, have already performed. When the 7th reshuffle will happen, the game will end instantly, and in such a case the player with more victory points would win. In case of a tie, both players loses, but it shouldn't happen. It's not too probable to happen, this kind of draw. Okay, but let's take a look at the victory conditions. So basically, Soviet victory condition, the first condition is if there are no insurgent blocks in a very important thing, Afghanistan area. In such a case, Soviet player will win instantly. Please remember that there still might be some insurgent blocks in USSR areas, or maybe in some either Pakistan or Iran areas. It doesn't matter. If there are no more blocks in any Afghanistan area, this is not the case right now, then Soviet player instantly wins. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when Soviet player will gain 9 or more Soviet control points during Geneva talks, then he will win instantly. So when this track will reach 9 or exceed it, it's an instant win. And how is it calculated? So every time when Soviet player controls all 3 cities, Herat, Kandahar as well as Kabul, and also can trace a path from USSR to all of those cities, then Soviet player will gain +4 Soviet control points. If at least one of those conditions is not met, then Soviet player will lose 1 control point. This control values cannot go below 0. Okay, so let's take a look. So let's assume that okay, and when Geneva talks occurs, every time when any of the players has to draw a card for any reason, and there is no more cards available in the draw deck, then we stop the game. If there are any more battles to be resolved, they will wait until Geneva talks will end. For example, if it's the last 7th Geneva talks, then those battles will not be resolved at all. And let's take a look at those Geneva talks details. So first, insurgent player has to remove all rumor blocks in USSR areas. So let's take a look if okay, so basically here is such a block, so let's remove it back to supply. And then insurgent player will gain 1 fatigue per each controlled city or USS area. So in this case, for example, Turkmen USSR as well as Tajik is controlled. Let's also assume that, for example, it looks like this, and this Kandahar is controlled as well. In this case, because 1, 2, and 3, those spaces are controlled, then this Soviet fatigue will be increased by 3 from 4 to 7. Then we advance our reshuffle token. If it's on 7th position, that's the end of the game, and we do not perform all those other steps. Okay, so let's do it. For example, let's say that it was on the 2nd position, we increase it to the 3rd position, and then if it's a Soviet reshuffle, then Soviet player has to move 1 infantry or armor from each city in USSR to this USSR airbase mobilized, or if there is no such a Soviet either infantry or armor unit, then Soviet player will have to disorder half of draft units in each city where there is no such a Soviet unit. So let's take a look at it. So let's, for example, from Herat, let's get this infantry. From Kabul also I will get this infantry. If, for example, there were no Soviet units, I would have to disorder half of those draft units rounded down, so basically I do not have to disorder this single block. Okay, and also then a player who has to reshuffle his deck can add two new strategy cards to his deck. Soviet player always have to add 2 copies of the same strategy card. Insurgent player always have to add 2 copies of different strategy cards, and then reshuffle and finish drawing your cards. Okay, so let's, for example, I will add 2 copies of this Hearts and Minds to my deck. Of course, I do not show this information to the opponent. It's a hidden information, and that's it. Okay, so that's how this actually both Soviet control as well as Soviet fatigue values are changes. Okay, and let's get back to insurgent player victory conditions. So basically, whenever insurgent player will control Kabul, he or she will win instantly. Okay, so this city is very important for both sides. Soviet player cannot afford to lose this city because he or she will lose instantly. And the second way to win the game is to gain those Soviet fatigue victory points. Every time when a Soviet, either Soviet infantry, Spetsnaz, or Soviet armor will be eliminated from the game. Also some insurgent events, also events or strategy cards can cause increase of this Soviet fatigue value. And every time when a city or Soviet area is controlled by insurgent player, this Soviet fatigue will be increased. When it reaches 9 or go above, insurgent player wins instantly. Okay, and please remember that every time when Soviet player will lose this draft unit, it does not affect Soviet fatigue at all. Okay. Oh, and one more thing. Let's assume that when Geneva talks started, there were some unresolved battles. For example, here and let's say here. And Soviet player is an attacker in both areas. In such a case, defending player is considered to control this area. So both Kandahar as well as this Turkmen area are in such a case controlled by defender, in this case insurgent play. Okay, so let's start with the setup of the game. It's very quick and easy. Actually, it is described. The whole setup is described in here. So first of all, both players simultaneously choose one of strategy cards, a single copy. Not all strategy cards are available from the very beginning. Only 4 of 8 are available. So let's choose some specific strategy. Let's, for example, choose this hearts and minds. Of course, it is chosen. I do not show this card to the other player. Then I shuffle this single copy of this strategy in here. I remove the second copy of this strategy from the game when it comes to Soviet player. So of course it's removed face down. And then from all other strategies, so let's put all those other strategies together. I shuffle them. I randomly choose a single strategy. Then I have to find the second copy of this strategy. It's Spetsnaz here, and both those strategies are removed for me for this game. Of course, this is a hidden information, so my opponent does not know what strategies will not be available to me during this game. Okay, so those are strategy cards. Then I shuffle this deck with a single strategy, this hearts and minds, which I have chosen. I draw 6 cards. Okay. Okay, I draw 6 cards. Of course, I do not show those cards to my opponent. This is 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, and then I am able to discard any number of cards and then draw back to 6 cards. So if I, for example, discard those 4 cards, let's do it, then I will fill my hand back to 6 cards. I can discard all 6 cards or discard nothing, but let's say that, for example, I want to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. Okay. And now insurgent player does almost the same. The main difference is that he or she also has to choose a single copy of strategy card. Also, not all strategy cards are available. Let's, for example, choose this the line of punch here. Of course, it's a hidden information for my opponent. I shuffle this deck with a single copy, and then I put all those cards, strategy card, maybe let's flip them. I put all those strategy cards together, I shuffle them, and I remove 2 copies of random strategy cards. So probably those will be 2 different. Okay, maybe one. Let's. Okay, so I remove those 2 copies. Not 2, 3. Sorry, 3 copies. One more. 3 copies. So as you can see, all 3 copies are different strategies. Of course, they might, because it's a random draw, I might remove same strategy cards, 2 copies of the same, and also the same thing. I will draw 6 cards. Of course, this is a hidden information. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I can discard any number of cards and fill back to 6 cards on my hand. Let's, for example, discard all 6 cards. In the base game, this discard is an open information. What is interesting, an opponent can never look into his opponent discard pile. Probably tournament rules will say that all cards discarded will be discarded face down. Actually, I prefer this variant. Let's draw those 6 new cards. This is my starting hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I prefer to this hidden discard tournament variant, but whatever you like. Okay, and what is more, in the beginning, Soviet player will start with those 3 DRA for DRA forces in Herat, Kandahar, and Kabul. All of them will start. Each of those blocks will start on this disordered side. On this disordered side. And now, when it comes to the setup, so let's get back to the Soviet setup. Then Soviet player will put all his or her armor, as well as Soviet armor, Soviet infantry, and the single Rumo blocks into a bag, and then will randomly draw 2 units per each of those southern areas in USSR, and all other 7 units put into this Turkestan military headquarters. So let's draw them randomly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and all other 7 units into Turkestan military headquarters. As you can see, this Turkestan military headquarters is this large area connected with all 4 other USSR areas. Okay, so let's draw those 7 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Of course, if I would play it against real opponent, those all blocks would be hidden. He or she, my opponent, insurgent player, would not see what units do I have an access to, what orientation those blocks have, and so on. So that's all when it comes to Soviet player. Now let's get back to our insurgent player. He or she will have to put all Mujahideen units, both Sunni as well as Shia. Sorry, Sunni as well as Shia units into the bag. Then randomly draw a single unit. Of course, do not show it to the Soviet player. And those 3 blocks, Warlord Stronghold, Rumors, as well as this single randomly draw either Sunni or Shia block, put them all on the map, those three units. Insurgent player has to put them anywhere in the Afghanistan, but those blocks cannot be put on any highway area, so it cannot be put in any of those spaces on the map in the setup. Okay, so let's, for example, put this rumor block here in Panjshir Valley. This warlord stronghold, let's put in here, and this Mujahideen, let's put, for example, let's move those cards a little bit here, southwest from Kandahar. This Mujahideen has to start as a disordered unit, the same as those Dra units. And that's it when it comes to setup. Always Soviet player will start as the first player, and now we can start playing the game. Okay, so let's start the game. Let's take a look at, as I have mentioned, Soviet player will always start the game. So let's take a look at what we can do on our. Okay, let's take a look what we are able to do on our turn. So in our turn, we have to do just a single thing. We either will play some strategy card, and that's it. That's the end of our turn, or we will perform an activation turn by discarding 0, 1 or 2 cards and activate some areas, or we will perform this resupply turn. You have to remember that you cannot perform 2 consecutive resupply turns. Okay, so maybe let's start with most complex part, this activation turn. So we are going to discard 0, 1 or 2 cards in order to activate some areas, and here are described those 4 types of activations. So if we discard 0 cards from our hand, we will be able to activate just a single non-disordered block, basically because all those blocks will be in some specific state, this top value of our block. So in this case, this block is disordered. It might also be fortified or mobilized, but it started as disordered block. Those disordered blocks basically cannot do nothing other than just defend if they will be attacked. They cannot move, they cannot change their position during activation. They just have to stay disordered in the same place. So basically, if you discard 0 cards from your hand, you can move just a single block using some movement rules, and this movement might cause a battle in the end, because basically in this game, when you perform any activation, first you discard 0, 1 or 2 cards, then you move some units, then maybe some battles at the end of those movements will be resolved after all movements, and then you will fill up your hand in some cases, drawing some cards from the draw deck. Okay, so that's this urgent activation. Another type of activation is either essential or restricted. If you perform an essential activation, you will be able to activate just a single area and perform as many battles as actually up to 6 battles, or restricted activation, where you will be able to activate 3 areas, but you will not be able to cause any battles in the end of such an activation. Okay, so let's take a look at some example. What does mean area activation? So basically, area activation uh, during activation of a single area, you will be able to activate all units in such an area. So for example, here we have just a single area like Turkestan Military, which right now contains seven blocks, 7 units. In such a case, I can activate all those 7 units, and each of them might be moved in some separate space. So let's consider that I would like to perform this. Maybe let's do restricted activation first. So I will discard just a single card, and we'll be able to activate 3 different areas, but without causing any combat. So first, let's discard a single card from our hand. It was like this. I have 6 cards in my hand. Let's discard this DRA forces card, and now let's activate first this area, so I can move all those 7 units, because this Turkestan Military Headquarters area has this uplift connection with air connection with Kabul. I can move 2 units, up to 2 units from USSR. Let's move, for example, this armor as well as this Soviet armor and Soviet infantry units here. Every time when you move any unit, they will change its state to mobilized. You can never ever move disordered units unless maybe some strategy cards will say that you can. Okay, and that's not all. I can still move all other as a single activation of a single area. I can still move all those 5 units. So let's, for example, move 3 units. When it comes to movement, here are described all movements modifiers. So basically, base movement is just a single area. If you are going, the whole movement is using this highway connection. Soviets will gain +2, so 1 + 2 + 2 equals 3. I can also perform a force marched. If I discard another card from my hand, if I move only armor units, I will also gain another +1 unless it's a difficult terrain, mountains terrain movement. If I move through difficult terrain, I will instead receive a -1, and also if I move bigger groups of units like 4 to 6, it will be -1, 7, 9 blocks -2. So because I move just 3 units, I do not have any minus. I will move only using highway connection, like 1, 2. So I have +1 plus I have +2 modifier. So I will move those 3 units like 1, 2, and 3, and put those units here in Herat. Because they have moved, all those blocks have to have this mobilized orientation. And also let's move all those 2 units, the last 2 units from this area. Very important thing, you can never move twice using the same connection unit. So basically, because I have already used this connection as well as this connection as well as this connection, I cannot move units using those same connections. So let's move those 2 units like one, and or maybe just 1, 2, 3 in here. Let's put them in here. So I move them using 1, 2, 3. Okay, I cannot move it in here. So that was just a single area activation, and still, because I have discarded a single card, I have 2 more areas to be activated. Okay, so that was just a single area. So let's, for example, activate let's activate this area as well. This connection has not been used, so let's do it like here. I cannot move those units here because this this connection here has already been used. So that was the second area activated. On the other hand, I might, for example, do not move this unit and instead just change if it was not disordered, because if it's disordered you cannot do anything with it. I can change its orientation to any other orientation, for example either fire support or fortify. Let's do it. It doesn't probably do not make too much sense in this case, but let's do it. Rumors you consider unless it will be revealed, you consider it as a Soviet infantry for Soviet player, and for insurgent player, unless rumor will be shown to the other player, you consider it a Lashkar unit. Okay, and the last third area, let's activate. I have not used this connection, so I can move those units in here and put them here, for example. On the other hand, I might do also something like, let's move this single unit in here and this one in here. I cannot move any further here because this connection has been already used, as well as this connection here. Okay, so that's the end of my activation. There are no battles in the end, so that's the end of the turn of Soviet player. So right now, those are cards in the hand. Soviet player here. So let's perform some other kind of activation for insurgent player. And now let's instead perform a resupply turn. So as you can see, when you resupply, you have first discard half of your hand rounded up, so it hurts, but I love it. It provides those agonizing decisions. Then I can basically you just turn any disordered units to mobilized, all disordered to mobilized side, and then you can draw up to 5 cards. You do not have to draw 5 cards. In most cases you will, but there will be cases where you want to draw less than 5 cards. And then later, if you are an insurgent player, you may either discard a single card and place some rumors and Lashkars on the map, or instead discard 3 cards and place some randomly drawn single disordered Mujahideen block, a single one. Okay, so let's perform. So first let's discard half of our hand rounded up. For example, let's I have on my map, I have this Shia Mujahideen, this green, so let's discard right now is a dead card in my hand. 1, maybe 2, 3. Then I can draw up to 5 cards, so let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So that's my whole hand. Maybe let's like this. Okay. Okay. And then I can discard a single card. Let's do this. Let's discard a single card, and let's put all rumors, all available rumors, and also half of my Lashkars, available Lashkars rounded up. Here I have 11 Lashkar units, so half of it rounded up will be 6. So those 8 units, of course, as a hidden information, my opponent would not know which of those blocks are rumors, which are Lashkar units. I would put on the map, and you can put them at most a single block in each town, not destroyed, not devastated. Let's maybe say that, for example, Jalalabad has been devastated. It's not a town anymore, so I cannot put those blocks in here. And also once you have resupplied, I like to use this devastation marker and put it in here in order to highlight that I cannot resupply in the next turn. On the next insurgent turn, if I perform any other thing like playing a strategy card, either playing a strategy card or performing any activation, then I will remove it to show that on the next turn I will be able to resupply again. Okay, but first let's put those 8 blocks. Okay, so let's, for example, put this rumor in here, this Lashkar in here, in each town a single unit, like that. Here, this rumor in here, this Lashkar in here, and this Lashkar in here as well. What is interesting, you can even place this either rumor or Lashkar in the town already controlled by Soviet player. Okay, so for example, I can play it in here, place it in here. Let's consider that some Soviet unit was also available in here. Oh, by the way, first of all, when I resupply, I can also mobilize any disordered units. Here I have a single disordered Mujahideen, so I will mobilize it. Of course, because before I have also, it looked like this from perspective of Soviet player. So because I do not want to show him or her that here is a Mujahideen, I would also change orientation of this rumor here, rumor as well as stronghold unit, not only this Mujahideen, just to bluff that anywhere in here this Mujahideen unit might be placed. Okay, so let's change orientation of those blocks as well to mobilized. So right now they are mobilized. I will show those units. Okay, but let's say that both before I place those insurgent units, both this town as well as this Tarinkot towns, those 2 towns were controlled by Soviet player. I can still place those new units in those towns when I resupply, and at the end of my turn, here and here, a battle will occur, but we'll get to battles a little bit later. Okay. Okay, so that's because it was a resupply turn, so that's it. On the other hand, if Soviets okay, we'll get back to this battle, so let's assume right now I did not cause any battle. Okay, let it be like this, for example. Okay, so that's the end of the turn of insurgent player. Let's get back to our Soviet player. Let's also perform a resupply turn as well. So first, Soviet player has to discard half of his or her hand rounded up, 3 cards. Let's, for example, 1, 2, and 3. Then draw up to 5 new cards. Let's draw 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay. This is my hand. Okay. Let's mobilize all disordered units. So basically those 3 DRA units mobilize. And now Soviet player, on the other hand, is able to discard 1 card. May discard 1 card to one either mobilized draft or rumor per city per Soviet controlled city. Okay, so It is quite costly because just a second. Yeah, because I would have to play a single card per single DRA draw unit. Okay, so let's, for example, discard 2 cards and place 2 DRA units, a single per city control. Okay, and because it was a resupply turn, I cannot perform resupply on the next turn. Let's assume that later insurgent player has performed some operation other than a resupply. It's going back to insurgent, and now the third option which you might perform other than activation or resupply is a strategy. Basically you just play a single strategy card and perform its effect. So let's do it. Let's assume that I will play this heads and minds, and you just perform text described in here. So basically I can place as many disordered draft units, a single disordered draft unit per controlled city, and also insurgent player will not be able to resupply on his or her next turn. So let's place one, but it has to be disordered, here and here, and that's it. This card goes to the discard, and that's how we are playing. The last type of activation, the most costly one, is this major activation. In order to perform it, you have to discard 2 cards from your hand, and then you are able to activate up to 6 areas, and you can cause as many combats as you wish. Okay. Okay. So that's it. And let's talk about talk about combats and how they look like. Okay, so let's see how some battles as well as loyalty challenges looks like. I will play from Soviet player perspective. That's our situation on the map. I would like to perform a major activation in order to activate up to 6 areas and also cause as many battles as I wish. And actually I would like to okay, so first of all I will have to discard 2 cards from my hand. Maybe let's discard like those 2 draft cards, and now let's activate up to 6 areas. The first area that I would like to activate will be this one. Sorry, but the situation on the map looks a little bit different. It looks like this. Okay, I would like to activate this area. So first I would like to move, I will change orientation of this block to fortified and move all other 4 blocks. Basic movement is +1, because I'm moving the group of more than 4 blocks, it's -1, and because I'm going to move only using this those highway connections, then it's +2. So I will move like maybe like 1, 2, and here cause a battle. First I move here because I have 4 times more units than those blocks in this area. Then this block is overrun. Every time when a block is eliminated from the game, opponent has to show it to us. In this case it's just a rumor. That is, it gets back to the supply as always. And then those 4 blocks moves in here and stops in here. So that was my first activation. I still have 5 more. I would like to activate this area and just change orientation of this block to, or state of this block to fire support. Also, let's activate this area. I would like to move this block here and attack this area in here. Also, let's activate this and maybe perform some other activations which would not matter in our case. Okay, so let's assume that I have finished my movement, and then I would like to resolve those battles. So first, let's start with this big battle in here. So as an attacker, I have to commit at least one block to the battle. If I do not do it, then all those blocks in this combat area would be eliminated. Please remember that every time when a Soviet either armor, infantry or Spetsnaz block is eliminated, then this Soviet fatigue would be increased. So I definitely want to commit at least one block to this battle. Actually, I want to win it. So first I would like to okay, and let's take a look how it looks like from both players' perspective, because both players do not know what is in here. Of course, Soviet player knows his blocks, and insurgent player doesn't know what opponent has, and vice versa for insurgent player. Okay, so first let's commit this fire support because I'm an attacker. Okay, there are some cases in which you do not have to play a corresponding card in order to commit specific block to the battle. For example, if it's a fire support, if it's an attacker, and if it's in an adjacent area which is not separated by difficult terrain, then you do not play a card in order to commit such a block. So I commit this block, and even if I do not play a card, still my opponent has a chance to perform loyalty challenge. Okay, so let's switch to insurgent player perspective. Let's take a look at his hand. Okay, actually I have two de factos cards, those loyalty challenge cards, but I expect that Soviet player still might have. That's how it looks like right now. I expect that because my opponent has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards on the hand, I expect that he still have infantry, Soviet infantry card on the hand, so I do not want to play it. Or maybe I won't. No, I don't. Okay, so right now let's update this impact track +2 impact. Impact right now is won by Soviet player, so always losing player has initiative. So insurgent player has initiative. He can play some card, or let's assume that this is a mobilized. This is fire support. Okay. So what I can play, let's take a look. I can for example, let's see how it looks like from Soviet player perspective. So Soviet player doesn't know what blocks are in here. So let's, for example, first commit this ambush block in here, and once again, because it's a combat area and this block is in ambush, has ambush orientation, in such a case when an ambush in combat area occurs, you do not play a card in order to commit this block. So I want to commit this block without, as an insurgent player, without playing card, but still I ask my opponent if Soviet player wants to perform loyalty challenge. Let's take a look at Soviet player. He does not have any loyalty challenge on his hand. Still, I do not have to tell it to my opponent. I will just say, no, thank you, not yet. I do not want to perform loyalty challenge right now. Okay, so this Lashkar, let's switch to insurgent. So this Lashkar is committed. It adds just +1 impact, like this. So it's still 2-1. So still insurgent player is losing. So he or insurgent player has initiative. Okay, so let's maybe play another unit. Let's add this let's try to commit this ambush mujahideen from an adjacent area, because I'm in defense. Soviet player, insurgent player is in defense. Soviet player has attacked him. In such a case, if there is an ambush unit in an adjacent area, if I play a corresponding card as a defender, I can commit this unit. So let's play such a card. It's a Sunni, so let's play a Sunni card, and as of course I ask my opponent if he wants to perform loyalty challenge. Soviet player says no, thank you, not yet. And because this Mujahideen would add +2 to impact, but because he's ambushing through difficult terrain, through those mountains, instead it will add a total of 3 impact in such a case. Okay, so please +3, 1 + 3 equals 4. So right now Soviet player loses 2 to 4. Always losing player has initiative. So let's switch to let's switch to our Soviet player. Right now that's the situation on the map. Those 3 units have been committed already. Okay, and maybe let's right now let's try to commit this armor, Soviet armor. So I will play a card. On the card you have information that Soviet armor cannot be targeted by defectors, it cannot be loyalty challenged. Okay, so I do not ask my opponent, I just add those +3 impact. 2 + 3 = 5. So initiative is on the insurgent player. Okay, so right now the situation looks like actually it looks like this: +2 +3 2 + 4. Okay. Okay, so what would I like to do? Okay, so let's maybe add another ambush from an adjacent area. So I will play this Lashka card from an adjacent area because it has this ambush orientation. And here is important thing: every pair of ambush units, every pair of Lashka ambush units, those with this 1+ value, will total of in a value of +3 impact. So basically you can count it as 1.5 rounded down. So right now the total impact of insurgent player is +3 because of the those mountains, +1.5 +1.5, so it's a total of 6 right now. Okay, losing player always has initiative. Oh, of course, I ask my opponent when I play this Lashka whether Soviet player want to loyalty challenge. No, thank you. Right now, so let's switch to Soviet player. So that's the current situation. Okay, okay, that's the current situation, and let's maybe add another infantry unit in here. Let's play an infantry unit. Okay. Let's add this infantry +2. Of course, I ask my opponent if he wants to perform a loyalty challenge, and actually insurgent player will say yes, I would like to do it. So he will have to play this defectors card, and then Soviet player will have to show in his hand a card corresponding to the unit that he wants to commit to the battle without playing it. Okay, I actually as a Soviet player have such a card, so I get back it to my hand. So this unit has been successfully committed, +2 impact. Let's increase it. 5 + 2 it's 7. Losing player always have initiative. Please remember that in a case when, for example, if there was a case that there will be a tie, all ties are always won by Soviet player, so in such a case Soviet would won the battle unless and the initiative would be on the insurgent player side. There is just one exception, but we'll get to it a little bit later. Okay, right now it's 7-6, so initiative is on the insurgent player side. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the actual situation. Right, currently it looks like this. Oh man, okay, plum plum plum. Okay, so maybe let's right now let's add this. Oh, by the way, here I have this capture artillery in fire support orientation, but I cannot commit it to this battle because I'm a defender, and fire support can support adjacent area only when I'm attacking. Okay, so this in this battle, in this actual battle, this unit is I cannot use it, but still I can use this unit in here. I will have to play any of those Mujahideen cards. Captured artillery cannot be loyalty challenged, so let's maybe play this card because I'm going to need this card in this battle, upcoming battle. So let's play it here. Okay, it cannot be loyalty challenged, so +3 impact. Let's add it in here. 6 + 3 is equals 9. Losing player has initiative. Let's switch to this player. Looks like this right now. Okay, and let's assume that right now I would like to commit to the battle my draft forces. Okay, I play this card and ask my opponent if he or insurgent player if he wants to perform loyalty challenge, and actually insurgent player will say yes, I would like to perform such a loyalty challenge with playing this card. And in such a case, because I do not have a card corresponding to this unit that I would like to commit, this text on this card will have to be applied. So basically this draft unit will be eliminated, and randomly drawn disordered Mujahideen will be committed to the battle. So let's get one. So this is randomly removed without adding this impact to the battle. It is returned to the supply of Soviet player, and this disordered randomly drawn Mujahideen will be added in here without playing a card, but this Mujahideen still might be loyalty challenged by Soviet player. So then insurgent asks if Soviet player want to loyalty challenge this unit. No thank you, I do not have such a card in my hand. So this +1 will be added on the side of insurgent player. So still, because still Soviet player loses battle, initiative is on his side, so I can play some card. I don't have to, but I would like to, because I can still because when the battle will end, losing player will have to absorb as many hit points as the difference in the impact. So right now it's like 1 to 3 hit points. So let's play another, let's try to commit another Soviet infantry here. This unit might be loyalty challenged. I ask my insurgent player if he want to perform loyalty challenge. No, thank you. So it will add +2. Still, losing player has initiative, but I can't add any more units to this battle. So the battle will end in this case. And right now, first I have to absorb as many. Losing player has to absorb as many hit points as the difference in impact, so just a single hit point. For example, I will lose this Soviet infantry. Please remember that even though this unit can absorb up to 2 hit points, in this case, for example, in such a case, it would be able to absorb up to 4 hit points. Even if it will absorb at least 1, it will be destroyed. So eliminated. So this unit is removed, eliminated from the game because Soviet player has lost Soviet infantry. Then Soviet fatigue will be increased. All other units, losing units, will be disordered and will have to retreat. Here are some rules which units should first absorb those casualties, those hit points. What are rules of retreats? Also some limits when it comes to retreating through some different border types like highways, difficult terrains, and so on. And all other units in oh, by the way, this one is also disordered as well because it also joined this battle. Okay, and now all units, all winning units, with exception of this disordered, will have changed will have to change their orientation to mobilized. So mobilized, 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 and mobilized. Okay, this one will have to be disordered, and because because insurgent player has won a battle where Lashkar unit was involved in this battle area, insurgent player can exchange this single Lashkar unit with a disordered captured artillery. So let's do it. And that's the end of the first battle, and now both players will have to draw as many cards as played cards plus 1 card per lost unit. You can always draw less cards if you want, but in most cases you want to draw those cards. So let's count it: 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, so 5 cards. Let's draw them. Okay, and let's switch to insurgent player. Insurgent player will have to draw like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Okay, and let's move on to the second battle. An attacker is this Soviet armor, so let's play an armor card. It cannot be loyalty challenged, so let's reset this impact, so +3. Losing player always have, by the way, in the beginning of the turn, this warlord stronghold will be uncovered. It will automatically add +1 impact. Then Soviet player will play this armor +3, and here only on the inside area where stronghold is present, all ties in impact are won by insurgent player. Everywhere else, Soviet player win ties in impact. Okay, so 3-1. Losing player has initiative, so insurgent player can play a card to activate. Let's take a look. What do we have in here? A Shia Mujahideen. So let's play such a card. I ask my opponent if he wants to perform loyalty challenge. No, thank you. So right now it's +2. Looks like this. +2. 1, 2. And that will be the end of the battle, because no one else can join this battle. So it's a tie in impact, and this is a special area because there is this warlord stronghold, so all ties are won by insurgent player. So basically, first losing player will have to absorb as many casualties, as many hit points as difference in impact, so it's 0. Losing player, all units of using player will be disordered, will have to retreat, and all those units will change their orientation to of winning player involved in the battle will have to change their orientation to mobilized, and that's it. Okay, so and at the end of the battle, both players draw as many cards as played plus casualties, so just a single card, and same thing with Soviet player, just a single card without casualties. Okay, so that's how it looks like.